Thank you guys so much for the week. We are finally on day 5, the last day of the mini. Oh, this thing froze. Okay, so that cut off. This is just a recap of all the past final days of why you should, implement organizational design and development inside your business. So today we're focusing on scaling in particular, because I like my little examples because it helps me follow along what in the world I'm about to say, so I'm not going too far out. So today we're focusing on scaling, in particular what you should look for, how all the processes and all that stuff kind of like combine, and next steps. So just jumping straight into it. First, there is a difference between growing and scaling. And this is one of the bigger things that I feel like it's not on purpose, but a lot of businesses miss. But like when it comes to growing, it just means that like you're growing, you're getting more clients, you're getting more money, you're getting more people on your team. If you're deciding to scale that way, you're just getting more. And then when it comes to scaling is pretty much the same thing. Like you may be increasing, but you're doing it from a strategic standpoint. So again, use an example when it comes to scaling with, when it comes to growing. So I'm going to use my virtual assistant agency back in the day. So beforehand, when I grew the agency, I was so focused on like, okay, I'm getting more clients. Let me hurry up and hire somebody to do maybe social media or doing websites or whatever else we were doing. I was doing way too much. But anyway, so when it comes to growing, so I grew my agency, but like I wasn't necessarily scaling. So this is the key difference when I'm about to switch over. So like growing, yes, I got more money. I made, got more people on my team, all that good stuff. So cool, we got that. Had I actually taken the time out, like I mentioned at the very beginning for the past videos, when it comes to designing your business, had I actually took the time out to figure out like, okay, I'm heading towards a direction where I'm getting people, like I'm probably going to turn to an agency. What I should have done was figure out the type of people I wanted to have inside my business. So like if I wanted someone to do social media, I should have figured out like what kind of social media, like do I want them to do full management? Do I want them to do XYZ? And figured out those things. And that's when it comes to doing design. Like if you did that from the beginning, you would have had the process of like the operational process and stuff we talked about the previous days. I would have had all that stuff lined up and it made it easier. But I didn't. So what ended up happening was I ended up growing, and as I kept growing, I kept hitting the wall. I call it the wall. I kept hitting the wall. So I was like, okay, hit a wall again. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is what scaling is, because I'm getting more people, I'm getting more money, I'm getting all this stuff. So I kept adding people and adding people. And after a while, I'm just like, people are still coming to me. Things were still feeling like all over the place. I felt really disorganized. So long story short, I was just like, maybe the agency lifestyle isn't for me. And I'm like, where exactly did I go wrong with this? Like, why am I still in the middle? Why am I struggling? Why am I getting up at like 4 a.m. and now going to bed till like 9 p.m. done with work type of thing? So I was just like, okay, this ain't for me. And the difference between that, so like I grew, like, yeah, it looked great, like on the outside looking in, but like it sucked. And had I taken the time out to actually scale, and this is why it's super important to focus on like actually designing the type of business that you want, had I taken the time to just be like, okay, I'm turning to an agency, I'm going to need people, how is this going to look like? Had I done all the stuff I talked about for the past few days first, what would have happened is I would have maybe gotten like one client for social media, maybe one for website development, and one client for per thing. And as I work with that client, but what I should have done when it came to scaling is I should have been, okay, so I did social media, and the person I'm going to have next, I'm going to have them focus on maybe like engagement only for this, because this is what my client needs. This is what they're asking for. So I'm going to find a person that does this. And from that, I would have developed like the processes for them to do and did that out versus just being like, oh, I'll just do that. I'll do the task, taking clients and then not really getting the feedback from it. And just, again, getting stuck in the growth mode, like just constantly getting clients, but not really absorbing anything. So I'm just kind of like sitting there stuck. If I scaled, did the right thing, figured out, okay, this person can do X, Y, Z. I'm going to hire one person to do X, Y, Z. Had I taken the time out to plan, so when it came time to actually growing, I would have actually, it would have been a whole lot easier. So like I would have found the right people to fit into what I wanted them to do and replace me out of. So when I had like 7 or 8 people with me in my agency, I wouldn't have been in the middle because I would have found the necessary people to help me with my journey. So like I would have had a dead set person for social media. I would have had a dead set person for websites. I probably would have had a project manager to manage all the different projects that we had coming on. But again, I was so focused on the growing aspect, I didn't focus on like the scaling strategically. And when you actually take the time out to plan strategically, you're able to remove yourself from business, and again, falls right back into your exit plan. So you're able to exit. You could still work in a business. It depends. But like, you would have been able to exit, you would have been able to grow, but you wouldn't have to like stop or keep hitting the wall like, oh, maybe I need to do X, Y, Z. You could have just grew versus like the agency. So again, so I had the agency, like even though I grew with the agency, I didn't scale just because I kept hitting the wall and I kind of had to either lose money or I lost people, lost out on clients just because I had to stop because I didn't know what I was doing versus scaling. Had I known like, okay, I'm going to get clients for social media and stuff. Hey, this person, you take over this. I wouldn't have to stop anything because it's like we anticipated that happening. So I could have just kept rising versus like growing, stopping, probably coming back down, going back up, just having to stop again, going back down. Like you see like the pattern scaling is just like we need X, Y, Z. I have this implemented, put them in place, keep going right up. And then the cycle continues. So overall, when it comes to scaling, and again, growth and scaling are two different things inside business. So growing, cool, like you're gonna grow when it comes to scaling. Scaling also too, before I want to mention that too. Scaling looks different as well. So you could scale with team building, like even though I used the agency as an example, you can scale through team building like I mentioned. Or another thing other people are using is licensing. You license out your framework, your digital products, anything you have in business, and you use that, document it. So this is why documentation is also important too. If you're having somebody duplicate any portion of your business, make sure it's documented. Because again, like I mentioned yesterday, it doesn't exist if it's not documented. That way you can just pass on that stuff. But anyway, so you can license, you can team build, however that looks like to you, whatever scale looks like to you. But overall, when it comes to scaling, you want to make sure you have the necessary things in place. You're continuously working towards your exit plan. Like you should not be stuck in the middle when it comes to scaling. So you should not be stuck in the middle when it comes to that. And after that, let me figure out what else I want to say from here. So growth and scaling is different. Make sure you're working towards the exit plan. Make sure you have the operational processes in place. And that's pretty much it when it comes to scaling. It's just a matter of making sure you think strategically. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm going to stop the video here. Hope that was helpful. I hope this mini series was helpful. If you want to continue conversation, make sure, again, check out the resources on the website. They're free templates for you to download. You do not need to join any mailing list. You have an option to join, but you do not have to download. You don't have to go on a mailing list just to get the templates and stuff. So you have that, free access, different digital products, things like that. If you want to take it a step further and you want to implement conversations like this, strategies, all that good stuff, I do have a community called Laserfy Your Operations where we discuss 1 or 2 key things for the month. And I break down from a process standpoint what you need to implement, what you should pull from it, and all that jazz. So you can check that out as well on the website. And y'all have a great Friday. I hope this series is helpful.